Good evening. On the campaign trail in Jammu and Kashmir, Article 370 has been the biggest talking point so far. While the BJP blames its political opponents for raising the spectre of this article, the opposition is asking the centre not to duck the issue. Welcome to Verdict 2014. I'm Zaka Jacob. Up first, as always, the headlines. Top BJP leaders hit the campaign trail in Jammu and Kashmir. While party chief Amit Shah doesn't mention Article 370 at all, Home Minister Rajnath Singh says the BJP's opponents are propping this issue up just to scare away voters. Jammu and Kashmir's incumbent Chief Minister Omar Abdullah files his nomination papers today. He chooses Biruha as his constituency over the family's stronghold, Ganderbal. In Jharkhand, Chief Minister Hemant Soren addresses a rally in Latehar. He accuses the BJP of failing to develop the backward state when it was in power. We start in Jammu and Kashmir, where top BJP leaders have stepped up their campaign. Party chief Amit Shah was on the campaign trail today, both in the valley as well as in Leh. And interestingly, he did not raise the controversial issue of Article 370. Nonetheless, the BJP chief called for a complete integration of Jammu and Kashmir with the rest of the country. Home Minister Rajnath Singh, on the other hand, he struck a completely different chord. He blamed the BJP's political opponents for using the ghost of Article 370 to scare away the voters of Jammu and Kashmir.
In the face of criticism from opposition parties over its stand on Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, BJP continued its aggressive campaign in the valley on Thursday. Addressing multiple rallies in the state, BJP President Amit Shah said that his party can ensure Jammu and Kashmir's complete integration with the rest of India. His remark comes a day after Rajnath Singh's remark that the controversial article will not be a poll issue in the state.
जम्मू कश्मीर का ये चुनाव जम्मू कश्मीर को देश का एक अभिन्न अंग बनाने के लिए भी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, देश के साथ जुड़ाव के साथ भी बहुत।
Home Minister Rajnath Singh also racked up the issue of Article 370 in Leh, claiming it to be a hurdle to implement several central policies in the valley. BJP leaders also took on the National Conference and Congress for lack of development in the state. He assured thorough probe into the misuse of central funds to the valley.
कभी आर्टिकल 370 का आपको भय दिखाते हैं, कहते हैं बीजेपी आएगी, आर्टिकल 370 को रिपील कर देगी, और इस बार भी यही भय जम्मू कश्मीर और लद्दाख की जनता को दिखाया जा रहा है। बहनों भाइयों, यह असेंबली का चुनाव चल रहा है। असेंबली का चुनाव यदि होना चाहिए तो गुड गवर्नेंस के आधार पर होना चाहिए, डेवलपमेंट के मुद्दे पर होना चाहिए।
60 साल से जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर ये दो परिवारों का जो शासन बना है, इसी के कारण जम्मू कश्मीर पे हमेशा सवालिया निशान लगा गया।
On Saturday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch campaign in the valley. He is expected to address a dozen rallies in yet another whirlwind campaign tour for the assembly polls. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, so the Prime Minister, as always, is going to be the star campaigner for his party. Meanwhile, the star campaigner for the outgoing government is Chief Minister Omar Abdullah. He filed his nomination papers from Biruwa today. That's not his constituency. That's going to be the second assembly seat from where he'll contest this particular round of elections. He's also contesting from Sonawar. What's interesting is that he's chosen this time not to contest from the family pocket borough of Ganderbal, a seat that he currently represents, a seat that was represented by both his father as well as his grandfather. However, when asked about this, he rejected reports that he's avoiding the family bastion in the face of anti-incumbency in that particular constituency. This is Omar Abdullah speaking to reporters right after filing his nomination papers.
कश्मीर में तो अगर हम ये कहें कि मोदी फैक्टर है वो गलत है, लेकिन जम्मू में ज़रूर होगा। पता नहीं, शायद मुमकिन है कि लद्दाख के कुछ इलाकों में भी मोदी का एक फैक्टर रहेगा। कश्मीर में अभी तक तो नज़र नहीं आया, अब उनको आने दीजिए, यहाँ जलसा करने दीजिए, फिर देखते हैं।
So the BJP, you remember Mission 44, now they've revised that. It's become even more ambitious to Mission 50 plus for Jammu and Kashmir. And it's banking quite heavily on the Muslim candidates as part of the list. In fact, 40% of all BJP candidates in the state are Muslim. Among the 32 in the fray, 25 of them are from the Kashmir Valley. They want a reprieve from dynastic politics in the state, which they believe is lagging on the development front.
Post Lok Sabha polls and victories in 2 state assembly elections, BJP has launched its most ambitious project yet. The party is eyeing more than 50 seats in the 87-member Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, a state with Muslim majority, and it shows in its list of candidates. There has been a sharp rise in the number of Muslim candidates this time compared to previous elections. From 24 candidates in 2008 polls and 17 from the 2002 edition, BJP has fielded 32 Muslim candidates this time. One of the young faces of BJP in the Kashmir Valley is Hina Bhatt, the candidate for the Amira Kadal constituency. The dentist-turned-politician feels BJP will bring development and the much-needed end to the dynastic politics in the valley.
मेन अभी जो हमारा है एजेंडा वो रिहैबिलिटेशन है, गुड गवर्नेंस है, करप्शन को ख़त्म करना है। और बड़े सदियों से देखिए आप टूरिज़्म पे कुछ हुआ नहीं है आज तक, सो टूरिज़्म को बढ़ाना है, डेवलपमेंट हर हिसाब से चाहिए कश्मीर में।
The controversial issue of Article 370 seems to be on the back burner in these polls, but the party is not shying away from talking about the issue Kashmiris are sensitive about.
ये पता होते हुए कि आर्टिकल 370 से उनके वोट कट भी सकते हैं, तो लेकिन बड़ा अपफ्रंट होके हम कह रहे हैं कि नहीं, हम इस बात को उठाएंगे, हम डिस्कशन करेंगे। मतलब हम दोगलापन नहीं कर रहे हैं, अभी कुछ कह रहे हैं और सरकार में आने के बाद कुछ कर रहे हैं, तो आप उसको अप्रिशिएट करें। जो भी कह रहे हैं तो ओपनली कह रहे हैं।
BJP got over 15,000 votes in the valley for the first time in the recent Lok Sabha elections. From being a triangular contest then, a four-cornered battle now. After the split between Congress and the National Conference, BJP feels it would be able to make enough votes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in Jharkhand, Chief Minister Hemant Soren was on the campaign trail in Latehar today. After the split with the Congress, the JMM leader is looking for a second term in the state, which has been under President's rule more often than seeing a government. Launching a sharp attack on his political opponents, Soren questioned the BJP's contribution to Jharkhand during its 10-year stint in power. He claimed that the Saffron Party failed to develop the backward state, lagging majorly in development.
पूर्व के विधायकों ने क्या आपके लिए किया, ये आप बताएंगे। हमने आपके लिए क्या किया, वो हम बताएंगे। आज इस राज्य में जो 14 वर्षों से अलग राज्य के बाद जिस तरीके से सरकारें आई गई, इस पूरा राज्य को बहुत नुकसान हुआ।
And in our constituency profile series today, among the oldest and biggest election issues in the Dhanbad industrial belt in Jharkhand is the displacement of thousands of tribals by the Damodar Valley project. Now, because of this one issue alone, a lot of others arise, amounting to a deprivation of basic facilities for the people of this area. Complaints and protests, they've flown like the river over the decades, but to little avail.
Demonstrations in Dhanbad demanding a very basic right. You took away our land, at least give us the basics of a new life in return. Close to 3,700 families of the Dhanbad belt in Jharkhand were displaced by the Damodar Valley Corporation dam project in the 1950s. Elections have come and gone, but more than 60 years on, 15,000 people have still not got compensation. And many of them have now given up hope of anything happening this time either.
विधानसभा में इस बार वोट का बहिष्कार करेंगे आप लोग?
आदम इस बार कर देंगे।
नहीं दीजिएगा?
नहीं दीजिएगे।
क्या कारण है?
कारण वही विस्थापित के लिए, व्यक्तिगत मांग के लिए हम लोगों को नेता कोई समर्थन नहीं दे रहा है।
हम लोगों का दुख और दर्द न सरकार सुनती है, न प्रशासन सुनती है, न मैनेजमेंट सुनती है। इसीलिए हम लोग इस बार ये कर रहे हैं कि जितना भी विस्थापित भाई और बंधु है, वोट का बहिष्कार करते हैं हम लोग।
Kishore Marandi was once a landowner. After he vacated his land to give way to the dam project, a road accident left him physically scarred for life. Yet he's kept up a legal fight. Social organizations like the Ghatwar Adivasi Mahasabha have taken up his cause. Legal notices have been sent out, letters sent for a CBI probe into the compensation issue and more, but there's been little movement.
38,000 एकड़ जमीन डीवीसी अधिग्रहण किया, 15,000 परिवार का जमीन अधिग्रहण किया, 340 गांव का जमीन अधिग्रहण किया, 5,000 घर अधिग्रहण किया। परमाणु सरू सिंह पत्थर गांव जहां 1670 घर डैम में डूब गया, 80% आदिवासी हैं, एक को नियोजन नहीं मिली। और सौभाग्य है कि हमारे मुख्यमंत्री झारखंड के आदिवासी हैं और आदिवासियों को न्याय नहीं दिला पाए।
Officials of the Damodar Valley Corporation say all claims have been settled and those persisting are fraudulent.
हम लोगों ने कहा ठीक है, अगर आपका क्लेम बनता है तो आप मुझे कागज दिखाइए। तो इनका कोई कागज इनका पास है नहीं। हम लोग खुद अपने लोगों को लगा करके कागज, पुराने कागज को ढूंढने के लिए हम लोगों ने लोगों को भी लगाया, लेकिन कहीं ऐसा कुछ मिला नहीं है।
The compensation issue is just one of many that Dhanbad faces. Lack of power and education facilities and poor infrastructure have dogged the area for years, despite it contributing heavily to the state exchequer. They'll play heavily on voters' minds when they go to assembly polls on the 14th of December. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And finally, Hazaribagh district in Jharkhand is set to witness an interesting contest between national and regional parties. It was once represented by the senior BJP leader Yashwant Sinha, and yet the district still lacks even basic amenities. Bad roads, shortage of water and power supply, these are some of the basic problems that the residents there face. We leave you with this story as we wrap up Verdict 2014 for tonight. Stick around, Loktantra will come right after this.
It's been 14 years since Jharkhand became a separate state. And since then, political parties at both the national and regional level have been making tall promises on bringing development to the state's tribal districts. But there's little to show for it on the ground. District Hazaribagh is proof enough. Set aside elaborate promises of 24/7 power supply, quality roads and world-class hospitals. Even basic living conditions remain a far cry. People complain about the callous approach of successive governments down the years.
विधायक सर्वदलीय हो, जो कि हमारा विकास कर सके, जनप्रतिनिधि ऐसा होना चाहिए जो कि प्रशासन के साथ मिल बैठ के बात कर सके।
Perhaps the biggest casualty is education. The district has no university. Higher education means travelling to state capital Ranchi every day or moving out of home.
जो गरीबों की देखरेख करें, लड़कियों के सुरक्षा पे ध्यान दें, लड़कियों की शिक्षा सुरक्षा पे ध्यान दें।
Hazaribagh district has 5 assembly segments. The Congress party holds 2 seats while BJP, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and AJSU have 1 seat each. But the recent Lok Sabha elections have completely changed the political landscape in Hazaribagh, resulting in a tough competition between the JMM and the BJP. The BJP is heavily banking on its veteran leader Yashwant Sinha to influence voters, while the JMM is playing the tribal card in the district that has large number of tribal population.
देखिए, जहाँ तक बिजली की बात है तो सब लोग देख रहे हैं कि 6 घंटा 8 घंटा लोड शेडिंग होता है। जहाँ तक सड़क की बात है, एक तो भ्रष्टाचार इतना है, थोड़ा बहुत सड़क जो बनता है आज और कल उखड़ते चलता है। पानी तो जो थोड़ा बहुत मिलता है, पानी कितना मिलता है, अगर अपने लोग व्यवस्था नहीं करें तो यहाँ से पीने वाला मर जाएगा।
Locals believe tribal-dominated Hazaribagh needs consistent government intervention on building basic infrastructure. Political parties have been promising employment and development in the backward region, but experts are skeptical. The last 5 years of political instability and frequent bouts of president's rule have raised concern, amid hope that the lessons have been learnt. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.